All right, you've been using Lumify for a little while now, and you might have already built out a couple of your own automations. But did you know we've been pushing some major updates to the way that automations work? And in fact, we're calling it Automations V2. In this video, we're going to talk a little bit about how Automations V2 will improve your experience in building automations. Now, these automations can streamline your business, automate touch points with clients, and help you overall with your day-to-day tasks, take things off your plate, and allow you to focus on your music. So let's jump right into it. Let's hop over into the automation section. And let's create a brand new automation. So the first thing that you'll notice is that you can import automations. Now, if you have automations that you downloaded from the community that other people have shared with you, you can go in here, simply hit import automation, and you can import the automation right away from right there. It just takes a second. The next thing you should be aware of is automations now have very specific inputs that you can use. And I'll show you an example of what that looks like. So let's say that we want to grab a single model. Let's say we grab a single event. Hit save. If you go into add an event action, let's say we want to update the event status. The input will only allow you to use an event model. Well, let's just do a quick sample here. Let's do a couple things. So let's actually change the trigger here to be an event. And let's also grab another model that isn't an event. So let's say we grab an invoice. Let's drag that up. So we're triggering when an event is created, and we're getting a single event, and we're getting a single invoice. Now, when we want to update the event status, we'll have a couple choices here. We'll have the trigger data, which is the triggered event, but we can also use the single event that we collected or gathered from the actions over here. And you'll notice that the invoice is not showing up in our inputs. That's super helpful. It's one of those small things that you really probably won't notice, but it'll streamline as you're building out your automations. The next thing I want to highlight here is the email builder. When you go in here to send an email, you'll notice that you can just choose a regular email, and you can say sample@example.net. And that could be the recipient of this email. And you can have multiple recipients. You could say test@example.net, and you can have as many as you want there. Now, instead of and you can even use placeholders. So you can say get model 1 contact.email, right? And so you can use the normal placeholders that you would normally use, and those merge fields would work just fine here. But what you can also do, let's go ahead and change this to grab a contact, and I'll show you what that's going to do here in a second. What you can also do here is when you're sending an email, you can choose a contact. And just like what we were talking about before with the inputs, you'll see get a single contact available to you as an input. And finally, you can choose an event as the recipient type. And this is a lot like the old send an email to event contacts action. What we've done is just simplify things and move everything related to emails into a single action. So if you select event here, you can go down and choose any one of the actions that outputs an event. So the trigger outputs an event. You have that one model that's capturing a single model. Click that. Or you can do update event status right there. And any of those would work. Now, the same way that the old action worked here for send an email to event contacts, you can go in and do all of your conditions. So you can say where the contact type label equal to client, for example. So this email will only get sent to clients. Great. Another small thing that you can do here is update the name of the action. So you can go in here and say test action. You can really make it say anything. So you can say send email to only clients, something like that. Another thing that I really quickly wanted to highlight here is the ability to import merge fields really easily. So let's say we want to send an email to the event client, to the clients here. We can say hello, grab your merge field, say contact name. It's just as easy as that now. Previously, you had to know a little bit of scripting. You had to be a little bit fancy. Nowadays, we've made it simple. And if you want, you can go ahead and say something like that, just to grab the first name for this email. If you didn't have that, it would say first name, last name. Hello, first name, last name. All right, so the next thing that I want to highlight here is the error handling that is new with Automations V2. So if we create a new action that is missing some required data, for example, we don't have the model selected here. So this should cause an error here. So if we run this, what we'll see is we get some really helpful feedback right off the bat as we're testing. It says no model selected. And so that gives you a pretty quick clue. Hey, I need to go and select a model here. If you select a model, save, and we run that again, you'll see that all of the actions are now running, and you'll get a green checkbox next to all of the actions that successfully ran. Now, something interesting to note here is if you're doing delayed actions, let's say we're going to delay something for a couple days, and we're going to add in another action. If we add that in and we hit run on this, what we'll notice is that the delay has run, but the actions within the delay are waiting to run because we're going to wait 3 days to run those actions. So just something to be aware of. And finally, the last thing I wanted to highlight here is the automation log. So what the automation log will show you is effectively a run history. And it'll show you everything that's happened with this automation in the last, let's say, 30 days. The history here will clear out after a while as it becomes less and less valuable. Usually what you're using this for is for testing or sort of debugging if you start having actions that are failing. The green checkbox here means that the run was successful, and the red means that there was some sort of error. If we open that up, what we'll see is that there was an error here. And if we scroll down, we should see what the error was. Let's keep going here. And we'll see that under Get Model 3, there was an error, and the error was no model selected. So if we close that one, these are successful runs. We'll see that the conditions were passed, that this was not caused by a delay run, and all of the data related to this automation run is here. So again, this is really helpful for debugging your automations as they're running. A lot of the times your automations are running in the background, and you're not really going to know when something is failing or passing or succeeding or doing what sort of actions. So it's really nice to be able to go back in here and say view automation log and see everything that's happening with those automations running in the background. All right, so that's pretty much it here for V2 of our automations. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out on the community. Other than that, I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.